Yo, what is going on? Jacob here, and I have something great for you. I created this full stack tutorial about Amazon Item Gallery app. I call it Amazon Item Gallery app, and basically it's a full stack application, and the whole tutorial, the whole crash course will be divided into a few parts. So basically we'll create a front end for our gallery app, which you see in a second. Actually, I can show you right now. So this is how our whole project will look like. This is the front end of the gallery app. This is the first part. I'm not sure if we'll be building this in the first, but it's like first part. And as you can see here, you have a categories, right? And each category has actually products. And what's cool about it is those are actually real products from Amazon. We'll be scraping them from Amazon. So the scraper is actually the second thing which we're gonna build. And already the scraper, I did a video about it on my YouTube channel, and it's basically the same scraper, but we'll modify it a little bit. So also you'll see that we can look for example, for iPhone here. And this is the search functionality. And it got us, for example, headphones, because in some point they were connected to the iPhone. So this is the front end. So we'll have front end, application, scraper for data from Amazon. Then the third thing, it will be the backend. So this is our backend API and the Django Rest Framework, which will be the main thing here. As you can see, we have endpoint products, but there are like a lot of different endpoints, and that's pretty cool, right? So for example, we can go to categories endpoint, and those are the categories which we scraped too. So those will be three things, and then we need the connectors. It will be a quick short script which will connect the data which was scraped to JSON files and our backend. And of course our backend will be connected to the front end. So it's all kind of connected for a huge one project, and I'm really excited to build it with you. And as I said, I'm pretty sure you will learn a lot. Guys, let's build this thing. And here also I want to ask you for a quick help, especially in the beginning when you're running your software agency. It's super hard to get a new client. So if you're watching this and if you have someone in mind, maybe your neighbor, maybe your friend that is looking for some automation project, some coding project, hit us up. contact@selfmade.dev. You'll probably see this on the screen. Also, you can check out our Instagram here. All right, so let's start by actually building a backend, just backend. So it's a Django Rest Framework. We'll just create a Django application. And for all of you who doesn't know, let me show you something, guys. So basically, Django Rest Framework is a framework which allows you to create the APIs in the Django, so you can create totally separate frontend and backend. And this is how actually companies use Django mostly. Like there are companies, of course, who use just Django, so they have all included, right, the frontend and the backend in one project. But usually companies actually use Django Rest Framework, so they just build APIs in here using this. So it's a very nice framework. I highly recommend you to go through the tutorial here. Once you get through this tutorial, you'll understand everything I do, because I'll go quite quickly through everything, but also I'll try to, of course, explain everything I'm doing. So let's start it. I have an idea to actually start the whole repository on my GitHub. So let me do it now. We'll create a whole new repository for the whole project. All right, so this is our Amazon Gallery app, and let's create some folder structure. All right, so I just created this basic folder structure. We can't really see the backend and frontend yet because once the directories are empty, you can't really push them to GitHub, but it's not a problem at all. Let's go to backend, because this is what we're building right now. So first of all, we have to create a virtual environment for Python. And now we gotta install the dependencies. So basically I already know which dependencies we'll be using. And I even created the whole file. So what I suggest you is basically go to description, go and click to my repo and maybe copy the whole requirements.txt file, because I'm going to do it right now. So a quick overview here. We will need, of course, the Django. We'll need the Django Rest Framework. I also like Django extensions, Django filter, to additional functionality, which I'll talk about later. We'll need a Selenium for our Amazon Scraper WebDriver Manager to actually install our WebDriver, so we don't have to do it manually. And a couple of others, which I can't really remember. They were probably just dependencies. But yeah. Let's install those the whole requirements now. All right, we can also update our pip. Cool. So let's start our Django project. All right, so I decided to create a whole project called Amazon Backend, and I used the dots, so basically didn't create additional level of directories. Cool. And now what we can do is migrate, so it will create a SQLite database, and we can run our server. So, oh, sorry guys, I'm running my previous application server. So that was the problem. So of course, we just run successfully our Django app. You'll probably see this for the first time. Congratulations. And now let's get other things. So I have my alias for PyCharm, typing charm dot, and basically I'm opening on the backend level. So that will be our root directory here. The first thing which I'm going to do is basically find the Python interpreter. Okay, got it. All right, so let's create the app called products. If you go back to Django, they will actually tell you how to do it. Let's basically start up. It's from here. So let's call it products. All right, so we have the products app now. And let's go to our settings, because this is where we're gonna install. Let me just zoom it a little bit. I don't think we need our console now. We also have access to the console in, sorry, not here, but here in a PyCharm. All right, but let's hide it for now. All right, so for the install apps, let's install the products. So we can even call it All right, so let me explain. So first of all, we are installing our products app, which is basically the app we just created. So basically we handle everything there about our products from Amazon. And then the third-party apps, which is Django Rest Framework, which is basically framework for creating the APIs, and Django extensions, which will give us access to actually the shell class. And so I'll show you later. It's a really cool feature. Django filters for creating the endpoints with actually filters. So be able to easily, for example, get all of the products which belongs to category number 1, for example, which is iPhone, and course headers will need this to actually we'll need it probably while dealing with our frontend and with our script, which will actually send the post request with data to our database. Okay, and now let's create the Django Rest Framework settings. So we can do it basically after the database, but it can be probably almost everywhere here. So let's add it. So Django Rest Framework, and we need a couple of settings here. Basically, I'm going to copy them, and I'll explain to you. So default filter backends, it's mostly, those are settings for a backend. So if you go to Django filters, and here we can see the setting filter backend, and this is that's it. And then we will be using the ordering and search filter. So those are the settings we have to add. All right, so the next thing we want to do is we can get rid of this. We want to go to the URLs, and we want to import the include here, and we want to create a new path. So we basically want to get the URLs from the products app and here. So we don't have this file yet, and now actually we're going to create it. So this will be our first endpoint, the product list. We'll use the class view. Of course, we don't have it yet, so you have to import it. So we'll import it from views. And now we, of course, have to create it in our views file. So the view which we'll be creating is called API view. It's from Django Rest Framework. So we're creating the class called product list, and we inherit from the API view. And in this particular endpoint, we'll be able to actually list our products or create the new one. And let me show you what is the API view. Okay, so if you go through the tutorial, you'll see that there are basically the class views. So normally you can use just a function, but if you create if you use the class-based views, then you save a lot of time. This is not the final solution, because there are even faster solutions, which are in the end the Viewsets. But this solution will actually show us very clearly what we want to do, right? So as you can see here, we have to implement the get method and implement the post method for our needs. So let's do it right now. But actually before that, we have to actually create our model for a database for our products. So let's put the pass here for now, and let's go to models. All right, so for models, we gotta think for a second. So while we scrape the Amazon, we'll have a product, right? And we'll have like multiple products. We'll have iPhones, cameras, TVs, and so on. And each product has its own category, right? So for example, the television, Samsung television 40 centimeters or whatever will belong to TV category. The iPhone 7 will belong, for example, to phone category, and so on. So we'll have products, we'll have categories, and we'll add also the seller category. It's an additional category. So basically, when you scrape from Amazon, you have multiple sellers, and it's also good information which we can store, but we of course don't have to use it later. So let's implement those models now. So first, let's start with category. Alright guys, so what we just did, we just created a category model with the string method. So basically in the admin or in the console, we'll see the friendly name, we have a seller with the product, and now with the product, there's a few things I want to talk about. So basically the photo, there will be the URL for the photo from Amazon. ASIN is basically the unique ID when we scrape from Amazon. So let me show you the Amazon for a second, and let's pick some product. So for example, we are here, and the ASIN which I was talking about is this thing. This is the unique ID of each. Oh damn it, they track us a lot. All right, so here, all right, this is our ASIN, and look what happens if we delete the whole URL from both sides, here and here. Boom. This is the same thing. This is how we can shorten actually the URL from Amazon. But yeah, anyway, let's get back to our script. So that was the ASIN, right? Okay, good. Then we got a seller. So seller is where's the seller? Oh, sorry guys, I should change the language to English. Boom, there it is. Save changes. All right. So the seller is the guy from here, I think, but I may be wrong now, but yeah, that's probably it. And then we have a price, which is obviously, you know what, title, category is something we actually do, and updated is also when we run our script. So we got those things. So now we should go here. Actually, we have a console here, so we can do manage PY, make migrations. So in this case, we'll just create a schema for, oh yeah, sorry. From Rest Framework we use API view, and in the URLs from views product list. Yeah, so again, make migrations. Good, we created all of the migrations, and now we're going to migrate it, so we'll have it in a database. Great. So let's get back here. So now what we need to do is basically we had to implement two methods, so get and post. All right, so we have to stop here for a second. Basically, when you are creating the API in a Django Rest Framework, you need a model, you need a view, you need a URL, and you need also a very important thing, which is serializer. So what is the serializer? Let's go here. And this is actually point number one. What is the serializer? So basically, whenever you have an object, you can serialize it to JSON, right? So this is the representation of the object. So basically here you can see that, for example, snippet serializer, you pass the snippet object, and the serializer data will show you how this data looks like in a JSON format. And also you can do it, at first it was in a Python native data types, but then you can render it into the JSON. But basically we'll use some little bit, I would say we'll use higher level serializers. We don't have to serialize it like they do in this part. We'll use something cooler and quicker. So let's create the new file serializers.py. All right, so this is our directory for serializers, and let's create a couple of serializers. Alright guys, so let me explain what we just built. Okay, so first of all, this is the category serializer, and the category serializer basically serializes the category, and we need to create a serializer method fields to get a random photo, because this will be something which we'll need on a front end whenever we'll have a category. So we'll just get a random, we'll just get a photo of the first project in this category. So we had to implement this in this case, and we had to put it here. Yeah, this works like this. So you name the field and you need to write a function get and the name of the field for that. All right, then we have a seller serializer. So it's a seller with two fields. A product serializer, the basic product serializer. So this is something which we probably won't use, but I just want to show you. And this is a product all info serializer. So this serializer will actually serialize for us category in the seller in a nice way. So once we ask the endpoint for data, we'll get everything really nicely formatted. So those are the serializers, and let's get back to the views. All right, so here we have another example of this is actually modeled Viewset, so it's kind of level above from just a API view. So Viewset is basically something really high level. So under the hood, there are basically all of the methods possible. So get, post, delete, update, and so on. And for those, I decided to actually go with those, so we don't have to really care about this. So let me show you. Let's just add the URLs first, and let me show you how it all works. All right, so now we have two options. We can create a default router to actually handle many things for us, but instead I'll just use some other thing. So I'll basically describe which functions of the Viewset are we going to use in our views. So let's do it now. All right, so this is for categories. So this is the one way of creating the how it's called, using the view sets to, so we have multiple views, multiple categories. So we can do a get and post there. So we can retrieve multiple, right, categories, or actually post multiple of them, or we can just do have a detailed view. But now let me show you the other option. So once we are in a routers here, this is what does it mean? We are binding the Viewsets to URL explicitly, right? But we have another option. We can use the router, and we can actually recreate it right now, or just use it for our sellers. All right, so yeah, let me just. So this should work. Basically, this should work right now. So basically, what we did here is we bind it manually, and this is what we did. This is like this binded those views for us, but basically the outcome is the same. So let's try to run the server now. So, okay, it's still the problem here. Oh yeah, sorry. Because we bind it already here, we don't have to put it. All right, so now it all works. So let's go. Let's check it out. Like when we have a router, actually it adds the nice documentation here, kind of, right? So those are the sellers. We can create a new seller. Seller 1, right? This is our seller. But let's go to categories without the hold on. All right, so here we just need to add slashes here to all of those endpoints, and we'll have them. So we are in a categories right now. So let's add a category, for example, iPhone, or like TVs. Let's do it. So we have a category TVs. Okay, and now let's go back to so those are sellers, of course. We can see them because we did it in a default router. But let's go to products. So we can actually post the data here, but we don't have the form because we did it manually here, right? This is our kind of manual form, so that's why. But we can actually start creating our products here. Okay, so as you can see, we got this. This is our product. We already can see it. Cool. So let's go back to our views, and let's create one more view, which actually allows us to filter. So for this one, we'll just use particular product serializer. And here we'll use the custom filter. So those two we'll use mostly by front end once we want to just get products from one category or actually search for a product with the certain title. So the cool thing about this one is that once we actually create the URL for it, we'll be able to use those functionalities. So let's do it. Okay, so that was very easy. So now we can go to actually products filter, right? So this is basically the same thing, but here pop-ups the filter. And what we can do is we can search for Samsung, for example. And of course, now we have just one, but if we do like whatever, right, we won't find any results. And the same with category. So now we can search for a category with a number ID 1, right? And if this is wrong, we won't get any results. So this is very simple how to filter actually stuff in a Django Rest framework. All right, guys, so from the part one, I think it's enough. So basically what we created here is a simple API, right? So in our API, we can go to different endpoints. So as I basically decided to show you different ways to also create the viewsets, right? So here you have a viewsets with basically custom methods. Here you have a viewset which actually uses the router and is already implemented. And then we have just products with filters. Yeah, like we tried everything a little bit. So in this case, I just wanted to show you what we can actually use in here, right? And as I said, you can actually start using here. You can basically create your own products and append them manually. But for now, our API is like nothing, right? Without the front end, without our script, we don't really know how to use it. So the next step, which we're going to create, is basically the Amazon scraper, the connector script, and the connector script will have a script on its own side. And also we need to add a new endpoint, which will basically allow us to append multiple products to our API. Okay, so that was part one, and yeah, probably they will be all in one video, but at some point you just will know what we already accomplished, right? Yeah, so basically we have our backend, very simple backend, and now let's take care of actually the scraper and the connector script within a scraper and our backend. So let's create our scraper now. Okay, so first of all, before actually continue, I would love to actually commit it. I'll just commit it as a simple backend, and I'll push it. So right now we have this directory, which is pretty cool. Okay, so let's do it. So let's create a directory script or scraper. You can do Amazon scraper. All right, so wait, hold on. Oh, not here. I'll just move it. I want to have it actually in a backend directory, so cool. So we have the Amazon scraper here. It's empty directory, right? And inside we'll have the scraper.py. That will be the first file. We'll have a config, or maybe a scraper config. Scraper config.py, and the API connector. So those are three things which we'll have here. We can add the in.py, so we'll have it as a package, Python package, and also we can create the directory called reports. This will be the directory for files from Amazon, our JSON files from the scraper. So let's go first to the scraper. So yeah, when it comes to the scraper itself, I created already the tutorial about that, so I don't want to go through everything one more time. What I'm going to do is here you probably will see the link to it, so you can just watch video about just a scraper, and we'll use the code from it, okay? And again, everything is in a repo. So when you feel like you're not following the app, just go to our to the GitHub repository and copy the code. All right, so let's implement everything now. So again, this file is also from tutorial, and this is why I actually decided to go very quickly through it. But basically, those are the options to our web browser. And here, of course, we have directory with our reports, which we create here. We have categories, the currency-based URL, which is Amazon.de. We'll be using the German Amazon for this. And our API-based URL, which is for now the just localhost. And obviously, if you're going to deploy the script somehow, you gotta change it. So you have our scraper config here. This is our scraper, and again, this thing, it's all from the tutorial, which is there. Just go there, watch it, and you'll be fine. Let's just import the rest. Good. So this should work. I'm just not sure about this import here. I'm not sure if this work or we should import actually from Amazon Scraper. We'll find out, right? Okay. And now let's create the class importer, and basically let's create the main. Yeah, so here for some reason, this directory, we need to get like a global path to it, so we always will find the reports. And yeah, the reporter class, this is the class which will be basically running in the main file. And this is the class which basically have whole functionality about scraping itself. So the scraper, it's kind of like the service which scrapes, but we'll basically include it in our reporter class. So let's do it. So you have two options, right? First of all, you can just generate report of one particular category, or second one, if we go all in, we'll basically loop through all of the categories. So let's create this generate report functionality. I'm pretty sure also it's from the previous video. Then in the previous video just about Amazon Scraper, I was basically having this one functionality to create a one JSON file. So the whole process of running the script is basically in this file, right? All we are doing is basically we are initializing the new scraper with the category, and it's running in the background, right? The cool thing about this is we can actually create the asynchronic process here. So we can write multiple scrapers at the same time if you want to like improve the script later on by your own. All right, so we got the data from a category. We have the data here, and we need to generate the report. All right, so basically here we create the object category with all of the data included, and now we just need to save it. All right, so here there's no directory, we just create one, but we already created manually. And then we just dump the JSON, which means we create the JSON out of the dictionary. So this will be the single report, right? This should work. And what we can do, actually, we can try run it for a PS4 So again, this should just implement the scraper functionality. Let's do it. Yeah, all right, I got it. So as I said, because we did this as a package here, we need to change it a little bit. Now it should work. Let's see. Oh, and we didn't actually did anything in the main. So our run method for now just generate one report. So we pass here all of the categories, but it doesn't really matter because we are running it only for one single category. So let's do it. And also right now we are running it in a headless mode, so we can't really see anything. But you know what? I'll actually run it so we can all see how it works. All right, guys, so what I discovered is basically it took a little bit longer than I expected because we scraped freaking 50 products. So we can change this a little bit basically here, right? We can just say, for example, hey, I want to just 10 products and do this like that. So I'll probably leave it like this here for our next reports. But let's see the report. So we go to our scraper reports and we get a PS for JSON. I'll just format it, and now as you can see we got a huge JSON with many different products related to PS4 search. So that's pretty cool. And now let's just create like functionality which will work for all of the categories. So it's basically super simple. Instead of this thing here, we'll do self run all right, so this is how we run the bot for all of the categories. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to run it, and in this case we'll basically have all of our reports, right? All of the categories are filled with the products, so then we can create the connector script. Let's do it right now. Let me just run it. All right, that took us a while, but look at those. Like, we got all of the JSONs, and now we are ready to create a connector script. Let's go. All right, guys, so now what we're gonna do is we're going to go through all of the reports, all of the JSON files, grab their content, like this, our API connector script will do that, and basically send post requests to the server. So then they'll be added to our database, right? So it's very common example. It's very common scenario when you have like your web scraper somewhere in the cloud, right? It's scraping the data, it's saving somewhere, for example, JSON files, or the second option is to basically it's sending directly to the database. So it's sending it directly to, for example, the backend, right? But in our case, we have this additional layer. So I really want you to get comfortable with those small services, right? It's common thing right now. So yeah, let's get to it. All right, so let's hide the reports for now. Let's go to API connector, and let's start doing it. So again, those are the steps we have to do. We have to iterate there for every report, get the data from report and push it to the database. So basically push it to the database means make a post request with the data and a body of the request to our API endpoint. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we need the files first. So we're going to implement this report files function, which will basically go through the files here, right, and get them, and then send data to API from those files. Right, so this will give us all the files. I used the list comprehension together with the if. So basically it was like a filter. So whenever we have a file, right, we're going to join it with the directories of a whole path, and this is the F. So those will be the array of all the files. And we'll make sure that we'll return all the JSON files. So you already have files here from this, and now let's send data to API. All right, so let's get the data from the file now. And here you can see that we are using the JSON load. So as we were doing in a scraper, right? Here we are using the JSON dump. Here it's actually the other way, so we do JSON loads. Okay, so yeah, this works. So once we get the data, what we're gonna do is we're gonna send it to API. All right, so now let's create the method for posting the data. So it's from single file, data from single file, right? So we do like X requests when X is actually number of categories, so number of those reports in here. So our API base URL is this with the slash, right? And now what we're gonna do, going back, is we're going to use the new endpoint called add products. So if we go to our URLs from products, we don't have this endpoint yet. We're going to add it just in a moment. Now let's wait for a second here. Let's open some JSON. You can split the screen so we can see it. Back to API connector. So this is the body. So from our file, what we're gonna take is basically we're going to have a date, right? So this is kind of a date when we scrape the data. We have a category, which is laptop in this case. We don't really need a currency or base link, and we're going to take all of the products, so it's the array of the products. So let's make a request now. All right, so this is our whole function here. Let's just create a main. So now what do we need before we run it? We need the endpoint and the URL, which I showed you. So let's go to views and let's go to actual, we don't need that, URLs. We can add products and then just one small thing, an API connector. Here we need to add also the slash. So we're doing add products. Let's use the report view, which we don't have yet. We're going to import it. And now we're going to actually create it here. Let's do API view. And here we just need a post method. So we only send data through this function. So once we get the data from the request, we should create some validation function to just make sure that we actually got what we wanted. All right, so this is a simple validation. We need some kind of function which will give us actually the object of category, because once we are adding the product, we need to pass the object of the category. So I propose to, hold on. I propose to actually use the getCreate method. So once we get also a new category, which we don't have in a database, we basically create it while creating the products. So here we have our category object. Now let's create the handle products function, which will actually handle all of the products from the JSON and add them to database. With seller, we can do basically the same. So remember, everything is a dictionary, so we're just using get, and the get. Once we use a get from dictionary, by default it returns the empty string if we don't get a key. So now this is the format of our dates. Let me open again some JSON to show you. Where were we? In a scraper views. Yep. All right. So let me close it. Here you can see that our date is a day, month, year, and basically time, right? So it's the same here: day, month, year, and a date. So this is our date formatted. And let's define the time zone also. All right, so basically here we are going to update or create our object. So those are basically kind of a unique values. So we define a project through them. So if we find a project which has those three things same as the other one, as the new one which we are adding, then we're going to go to defaults and we're going to update the project. Otherwise, we're going to create a new one. So this is our whole response. We are kind of gathering the data if object was updated or created, and then return it. Simple. So let's return a response. And this is the method. This is the response which we are going to send back to our script. So right now we created everything. Let's for a second run the server actually. Hold on. Let's go to terminal. All right. So we have to go to Backend directory. Okay, and we have to do manage PY run server. So let me show you, because this is a really important moment right now. So once we go to products, right, we have only one product with one category. What I would suggest even is to delete the. No, we don't have to. Let's give it a try. So let's as you can see, we have one category, one product, whatever, right? Because we added manually. And now let's actually run our script, right? So let's go to our API connector and let's run our script. Boom. As you can see here, I don't want to refresh the website yet. We added some stuff here, right? We didn't add everything for some reason. I don't know why. Let's see. Oh, see, this is the problem. Intention Python. So basically, we couldn't even loop through the for loop because we were returning the response. All right, let's do it one more time. Let's run the script one more time. So let's go to API connector and run it. As you can see, much more data was added right now. Let's just refresh our website and boom, there is a lot of data here. Cool. Let's go to products filter and let's do some filtering, huh? We can do, for example, iPhone search and boom, we got just few searches with the iPhone. So Guys, in this point, we created the backend API in Django Rest Framework. We created the scraper and we created the connection script. So we have 3 things. We have actually the whole backend. It's amazing. So now it's time for a front end and for integration. So you have a full stack application. Let's do it. All right, so let's start with the front end. What we're gonna do is basically we don't need a PyCharm anymore because we have developed our backend, right? So let's close it. This is our API. I mean, we can have it. We can actually, what we can do here in the backend side, we can just run the server, right? So we'll have it. Let me just go to products. Here we have products, so it's running. And now let's go back and let's go to front end. And for this, we're going to use Visual Studio Code. Okay. All right. So we are here in the front end. It's empty for now. But basically, what you will need to have for sure is the one thing called a live server. So please install this. So we'll be able to actually deploy a live server, basically as this guy here. So yeah, please do it. And let's get to it. So let's start with the creating folder called assets. So in this directory, what we'll have, it's 2 files. Basically, you can get them. It's a banner and it's a profile. You can get them from the GitHub. Then let's create a JS file, the JS directory. In the JS, we'll basically create the index.js. And we will create the category.js. Those 2. Okay. And then what we'll have a style directory. And in a style, we'll have styles or style, it doesn't really matter. Style.css. And let's create the index.html and let's create the category.html. So basically, okay guys, so basically what we're gonna do is we use the we will use the live server instead of a Vue or React because it will be just simple for you, as this tutorial is more about the backend than frontend. All right, so for our head, basically it's simple HTML settings. This is our app name, Amazon Item Gallery app. We'll import our CSS, and of course we will import some nice fonts. And now let's create a body. So this is our header. Let's run our live server. So basically, wait, let me go to extensions, live server. So now let's go live. So this is our Amazon Gallery app. So right now there's nothing, obviously. And here we'll have our form. So this is for items. Basically, I got this template from my friend, because I'm not the best in the CSS, and I modified the whole thing. So here you can see like some last things, for example, blog posts. So in our case, it'll be items. So Nas, if you are watching this, thanks a lot. But yeah, basically I modified almost whole app. Just got some basic styling. And obviously, when it comes to styling, I would suggest you just copy the whole CSS because I won't sit there and describe it. Now, because this is not the purpose of this tutorial. All right, guys, so this is our HTML, this is our index HTML without formatting. So now what will happen is I'm going to basically paste all of the styling which I prepared, and I suggest you do the same, and it looks much better. But for some reason I fucked up something. Oh, I see. All right, now it should be fine. Just one div. Yeah, I didn't close just one div here. That was it. So we have our basic functionality. Now let's add categories. So we basically copy everything, but we'll get rid of this and we'll change a little bit the main thing here. So instead, we'll just use the href to home. Okay, now it should be good. Just refresh. I mean, we still don't have it. Just do category.html. You can see your products. So this is basically once we click on the products, our products will show from the certain category. And now it's time to implement the JavaScript. But just before implementing the JavaScript, there's only one small thing to do. Basically, the search functionality here, I want you to also write it here, so we'll get this nice search functionality in our HTML. Okay, cool. Let's start with a JavaScript. And just before going to JavaScript, there's also a small thing which I want you to change in a Django Rest framework. So let's just go for a second to our server, open the PyCharm, and here there are two things which I want you to add. First, course origin allow all. This is the first thing, and the second one is this middleware. So those two will basically allow us to do a request from a frontend without any problem. So this is basically it for a backend. We can run our server. Okay. Yep, it's running. And let's go and let's create frontend. And of course here for category of categories, not in categories, I took it from Python, and yeah, I was struggling a while, but basically that was the issue. Okay, let's just make a search functionality. Alright guys, so let me explain what we just did, right? Basically you have our APIs URLs to the backend. The get categories, basically it's loaded, we execute it on load, so whenever we refresh the page, right, we are fetching the categories from our API from the categories. We are returning the JSON, and later on we are building categories from JSON data, right? So here we have the function to build the categories, so basically we iterate over them, and for each category we create this nice picture here. It's actually a flex box, as you can see, and yeah, basically that's it for it. And then we have also a search functionality, which basically filters our categories. So if we click on camera, you can see there's ID 3, and now we are going to actually ask backend for it as well. All right, so this should make it work. So basically what we do is when we click on a category here, right? Okay, so for some reason it doesn't really work. Hold on. Oh yeah, for sure, here. All right, so the problem was here, basically fetched the wrong JS here, but you can see that we are actually fetching this, which is pretty cool. And now we just gotta see where's the problem. Okay, products content is not defined, so basically some small typo here in category JS. Now let's run it again. Let's go to main file, right? And now once we click TV, boom, we got the TV here, printer, we got a printers, camera, we got a cameras. So as you can see, it all works, and basically this whole file here worked very, very similar. The difference was here we basically had to do some query string to ask the backend. So as you can see here, we are fetching the data filtered by the category ID, and this is how it works. So let's try the search function. As you can see, it also works because here we have this condition, right? So depending if we are doing a search or if we are just filtering by category, one of those two will be returned, and we will fetch the products by this. So that was pretty nice basically. As you can see, everything works. And you have very nice possibilities with this. You can expand this, you can host it on your favorite cloud provider, and you can show it as your resume project, because this is something which actually shows that you can build a front-end application, back-end application is basically full-stack application, microservices, which is in this case like a web scraper, plus the script which actually synchronize the JSON files from the web scraper and the database. So all of this together is really, really good project, and I highly recommend actually play around with it, try to understand, go again, clone the repo, and yeah, try to add your own features, guys, because this is when you actually learn. So that was it for this video. Thanks a lot. And again, just wanted to say that we are running the software agency right now, and we are automating the projects, we are automating businesses. If you know someone who'd love to have something automated, if you work for a company and you're thinking about some processes which can be automated, hit us up at contact@selfmade.dev. We are happy to help you or your company. And yeah, thanks guys a lot, and see you next time.